Okay, I'm here to talk about Great Western. We've got some Tier 1 targets that we're looking to make a once-in-a-decade type discovery with. We've worked really hard to get to this point, and we've got a really exciting first half of this year coming up. Just a normal disclaimer. Okay, a bit more about Great Western. We've got a really experienced board there. Myself as Managing Director, I'm a geologist. I've been in the industry over 20 years. I've had half and half experience of both mining geology and exploration. I started my career with Equigold. That turned into a fairly successful company, and there are some that made their own successful companies coming out of that. I've been with Newcrest. I was with Evolution Mining for quite a while, right from their start, where I was geology manager looking after exploration and mining teams, and ended up East Coast manager for exploration with them. I've got experience over base metal and gold deposits. Ross Williams was founder of one of Australia's largest mining contractors, Macca, which is now owned by Thiess. Gray Warburton, he's a corporate merger and acquisition specialist. He's been involved in many financing of different mines over the last 20 years. And Tony Walsh is our company secretary. He's one of the most experienced company secretaries in Australia. He was once used to head the listings office in Perth. We're lucky to have him. Okay, the key takeaways that I'd like everyone to leave this presentation with is the scale. Our Tier 1 targets that we've got really isn't typical of a junior exploration company's portfolio, and success at any one of these is going to lead to substantial shareholder returns. The Tier 1 scale of these targets aren't reflected in our market capitalisation, which is between $9 and $10 million. We've got really low corporate overheads. We're intent on making a discovery. Greater than 70% of our funds go directly back into the ground. Part of the way we do this, our board, a lot of them are major shareholders. They don't take any fees, don't draw any salaries for their services, and there's not many on the ASX that can lay claim to that. Got really supportive cornerstone shareholders. Many of them you'll know. They're managing directors or chairpersons of major listed ASX companies. We've got one of the largest tenure positions of any exploration company on the ASX. We've got a big, deep portfolio of projects that we're working up, but in the first half of this year, we're going to be focusing on three core ones: the Firebird Gold Project, the Fairburn Copper Project, and the Oval and Oval South Copper Gold Project. All of these, in their own right, could be company makers and could deliver significant wealth to the shareholders. I'll talk to Firebird first. So Firebird, it sits right next door to multiple reported resources. We brought quite a lot of technical vigour to this that we do with all our projects. We looked at the geology, we looked at the structural interpretation, we looked at all the exploration that had been completed previously. And what we found was that there was an enormous soil anomaly here over Archean greenstone that had never been drilled before. Frankly, we didn't believe it. Greenstone right next to resources, same unit. We completed our own surface sampling using a technique called ultrafine, which is a CSIRO developed technique. And not only did that confirm the anomalism there, but it extended it. It's huge. It's 3.7 k's by 450 k's long. We completed a broad space drilling program there, which is what you have to do on something so big, and that returned some really interesting results, some of which are shown here. Importantly though, if you look at hole 8 there, it's open to the south up to 2 kilometres. it hit multiple intercepts down the hole, and we interpret this to be testing the fringes of a major gold mineralised system. We followed that up with an air core drilling program that we finished just before Christmas, and we expect the results of that to be back mid this month. And two things are going to happen. One, we get some interesting results over a large soil anomaly right next to known resources. May not be a company maker, and we walk away. Or we get significant results and we've made a major gold discovery. Either way, we'll know in 2 weeks' time. Okay, the Fairburn Copper Project. So Fairburn is about 1,000 kilometres northeast from Perth, just under 1,000 kilometres. This is one we pegged in 2016, and we've been methodically working through this over those years, making it jump through every exploration hoop that we could. We completed an airborne electromagnetic survey, and that identified 8 targets. Now, most companies would go out and drill those targets just to test them. We want to make sure that our money is going into getting into targets that's going to give us the greatest chance of economic success. So we applied some science to this. You know, we are scientists. We're not prospectors. There's ways you can reduce the risk on this. We went out, hired a team, completed a ground EM survey. We dragged cable over sand dunes and the bush, put current through the earth, sent the data off to our geophysical consultants, New Exco, and they came back with 3 really interesting near-surface targets, 3 of which are between 80 and 190 metres below surface. From the geology there, really interesting geology area, we've interpreted that these represent blind DeGrussa style volcanic hosted massive sulphide deposits. And why that is so important, now DeGrussa, that was found 14 years ago by Sandfire Resources, which I think we all know in this room. But when Sandfire found that, their shares were worth cents. The discovery of DeGrussa over the years propelled their share price on DeGrussa alone to $8.30. Okay, market cap of $2.7 billion. That's what we want to replicate here, and we're going to look at drilling this in March. We're going to be busy. Why we think that this is a DeGrussa style deposit? In the top left image there, that maroon square, that's the conductor that we've put at the surface with some of the mapping that we did. We went out in the field again, went and mapped, and importantly, that green unit right in the centre there is a mafic unit that has previously been undocumented. It was anomalous in both gold and copper, and why that's important is that we think we're just outboard of a volcanic hosted massive sulphide system that the conductor has picked up at depth. To that right image there, that's DeGrussa. That dotted box there is what we think we're mapped at surface with the mafic and the sediment units, and DeGrussa, the mineralisation is mapped by the conductor at depth. Same as the schematic at the bottom, just a little bit simplified. So we're looking to go drill this in March of this year. Following on from Fairburn is Oval and Oval South. Now this is the very definition of a world-class target. In fact, it was defined by Rio in the 90s. Rio drilled this target but failed to intersect the EM anomaly here. And how it came into the hands of a junior such as ourselves is an interesting story. So Rio in the 90s, big company, big budget, went out and completed a Tempest electromagnetic survey. They defined Oval, they interpreted that as a big zone of copper accumulation, and they went out and drilled it. They got down to a depth of 232 metres, and they hit a shale unit, which those of you will know sometimes can give false anomalies. So the geologist rightly thought at the time, with the data that he had, pulled the hole up, and then it just sat there. Great Western, many years later, went and picked this ground up along with big ground package and started commencing preliminary work. Part of it was a VTEM electromagnetic survey that can better see through the sediments in this location and better define electromagnetic anomalies. Because of the size of the tenure and the preliminary work that was being done, Great Western entered into an agreement with Sandfire Resources to farm into this. Sandfire did some really good work. They did preliminary work, they looked at the VTEM, and they worked out that the Rio hole that was drilled into Oval on the Ida fault, which I'll talk a bit later, didn't hit it. It was 70 metres short. Now, DeGrussa was naturally winding up. Sandfire's focus moved to Botswana and Spain, and Sandfire handed back this project 100% to us, along with $4.5 million that they spent on exploration. All that data came to us. We have this 100%. And why we think this is so important is that we think this is a Winu-style intrusive-related copper-gold project to target. For those of you that don't know Winu sits in coincidentally Rio's stable of projects. It is a proper giant, 280 million tonne of copper, 7.8 million ounces of gold as a byproduct, enormous on any scale, and it's still open. They are still drilling it. They haven't touched the sides. We think a potential colossal discovery, similar to Winu, can be found here. This image here, now you don't have to be a geologist or a geophysicist to understand this. That black line there, down to 232 metres, that's the Rio hole. This is a VTEM anomaly, and that red area there is the anomaly at depth that the Rio hole didn't test. Okay? Pretty simple. If Rio had this data, they would have continued drilling, and I wouldn't be up here talking about it for Great Western today. But every big deposit, I'm going to go a bit technical here, every big deposit usually has key ingredients, and every time you get one of these ingredients, it increases the chances of a discovery success. Sandfire flew a gravity survey. That's the EM in plan section there. Okay, Oval and Oval South. The gravity highlighted these perfectly, and why that's important is the EM shows that there's something conductive. The gravity means there's a high density. So if you've got conductive high density, we're interpreting this to be a zone of massive sulfide mineralisation. Just like Winu, there's a magnetic anomaly at depth, which we think is an intrusion that's provided the fluids, provided the heat, is basically the engine for a mineral system. The favourable stratigraphy there, very similar to Winu as well. Got sandstones, siltstones, carbonate units, something to trap these ascending metal-rich fluids in those units and drop out the copper and gold here. And lastly, and probably most importantly, both these targets are centred on the Ida fault and the Yerida Basin growth fault. This helps focus the fluids into this favourable stratigraphy. The Ida fault is massive. It's got proven fertility. It's 500 kilometres long. It's got big deposits along its length. Perseverance, Mount Keith, big nickel deposits, Davyhurst, big gold deposit. Even DeGrussa is on the end of this, a copper gold thing. It's got proven fertility. These four ingredients makes us believe we've got a potential discovery, colossal discovery on our hands. So just in summary, we're going to have a really interesting first half of this year. We've got three key targets, three tier 1 targets, Firebird, Fairburn and Oval South that we're going to go and test, and we hope will be a tier 1 discovery. Our market cap is just $9 or $10 million. This is ridiculous to have these tier 1 discoveries. You'd be crazy not to have some of this stock for where we are at the moment. Now it's afternoon tea time. It's time to go get a muffin. I'm really passionate. We've worked hard to get to this position. I'd be happy to speak more about this at the booth over a muffin, whatever. Thank you.